There's always been an argument in Hong Kong whether one country is bigger or two systems is bigger, which is more important. But I think this actually is a false argument, because there is never any argument about the one country. It's a given, it's a fact. I don't know anybody in Hong Kong who want to dispute the one country, and there is really no market for Hong Kong becoming independent. So everybody accepts the one country, and it's really in that context whether we can preserve the two systems. That's why there is really only one question, and the one question is how we can preserve the Hong Kong values, rule of law, for example, our freedom, our way of life, and that has always been a concern to a lot of Hong Kong people, and increasingly you feel that it's becoming more and more one country, one system. In particular, ever since the year 2003, you can see Beijing interfering more and more with Hong Kong internal affairs. For example, we're now pushing for the 5-district referendum movement in Hong Kong. This should be an internal matter in the sense that it's about really an internal by-election. But of course, the concept of a de facto referendum is extremely sensitive to Beijing, and that's why in January, middle of January, the Hong Kong Macau office issued a very strongly worded message saying that, well, this movement, which really is about Hong Kong people fighting for democracy, the message from Hong Kong Macau office, however, is that, well, this is really against the Constitution, against law, and this has got to be stopped. And therefore the pro-establishment parties, which originally were very interested in taking part in this by-election, suddenly withdrew and said, well, I'm not going to take part, I'm going to boycott this by-election. And that is just one example, but there have been many, many examples of interference with Hong Kong elections, with Hong Kong voting by legislators in Legislature. And you recently also saw the article written by Cao Bao about having two armies or two teams of governance, and that is really more and more open, that the interference is actually more and more transparent.
Just one basic question. What do you think one country, two system was meant to work in Hong Kong?
I believe originally the concept of one country, two systems is really to reassure Hong Kong people, because we've been used to our way of life, and the worry before the handover, before 1997, was that, well, maybe we are going to become more like another mainland city, and the reassurance in the one country, two systems is that, well, Hong Kong people don't have to worry because it's 50 years, no change, Hong Kong people having a high degree of autonomy, Hong Kong people ruling Hong Kong, and therefore all this under the umbrella of one country, two systems is to reassure Hong Kong people that we can carry on the way that we did. The first warning really was in 2003, when there was the push for Article 23 national security legislation. Hong Kong people got very worried, and therefore 500,000 people marched in the streets. But that, of course, in turn got Beijing very worried, that they've always worried that Hong Kong become a base for subversive activities. They always feel that Hong Kong people are extremely ignorant, and therefore they can be easily manipulated by foreign forces. And that there's been this rumor that, well, people who came out to the streets on the 1st of July in 2003 were paid. And it's really a ridiculous kind of rumor, because, of course, I mean, in Hong Kong, everything is so open. If people came out in large numbers and each and everybody was paid, I mean, there would sure be evidence of that. And for example, also beginning of this year, there were some rallies outside Legislative Council. Young people came in large numbers, to surround LegCo, to oppose the express rail. And again, the feedback I heard was that, oh, well, these people were paid to come to LegCo, to sort of surround LegCo and to oppose the express rail. And I said, you know, to those people who told me about this rumor, I said, this is ridiculous. I said, in Hong Kong, everybody has this mobile phone which acts as a camera, and if people were being paid off, you know, I'm sure people would take the phone and the mobile phone and just take pictures, and there will sure be evidence of payment. So the worry that Hong Kong will be used as a base for subversive activities, I find pretty ridiculous, but this has been always an excuse given for Hong Kong people, you know, not having a democracy. But coming back to one country, two systems, I think the original concept was to reassure Hong Kong people, and it hasn't, I mean, it's worked well, I think, in the original years after the handover, but as I said, after 2003, you see an increasing interference, and it's now more and more open, that it's more and more one country, one system. And in particular, my concern has always been with the legal system, because I think that is what preserves the Hong Kong way of life, rule of law, independence of the judiciary, and so on. And that really is one of the core values that makes Hong Kong a success. But you see mainland leaders, for example, speaking openly and saying that, well, the judiciary ought to cooperate more with